Hello and welcome to another episode of my ArundelBiz podcast, powered by Arundel Economic Development Corporation. I'm Grayson Orfe.
And I'm Steve Adams, Marketing and Outreach Manager at AAEDC. And while I'm not exactly a wine connoisseur myself, my mom certainly is. And I know enough to know that she loves Sauvignon Blanc from the Marlborough region of New Zealand. So I'm a good son in that respect. But
wow, say that 3 times fast.
Yes, I've memorized it over the years for Mother's Day, birthdays. It's an easy go-to. So with all that being said, I'm very pleased to be coming to you from one of the very small number of wineries in Arundel County, Great Frogs Winery. And we're located in Annapolis, just a stone's throw from Harness Creek and a couple miles outside of downtown Annapolis. And I'm very pleased to introduce you to Great Frogs owner, Andrea O'Shea. So Andrea,
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And just to kick things off, if you could tell everybody out there a little bit about just how you got interested in wine and entering the industry.
Sure. So I'm a winery owner by marriage, I guess I could say. So my husband, when we first got married, he's always been very passionate about wine. He was studying to be a sommelier, and it was one of his dreams to have a winery. So when he was working in vineyards, he talked me into giving up my long commute in an office, and so I said, okay, well, that does sound like it wouldn't be that bad. And then, I really like it. It's really fun to be in a business that's seasonal, based on the growing seasons and stuff, and it definitely has a lot of creative outlets too.
Awesome. And are you guys originally from Maryland or the area, or
no?
Because I was going to say,
no,
I was curious.
Yeah,
what wineries he was working at.
Yeah, so we moved to Maryland in 2005.
Okay.
So he started off when we moved to Maryland. We were out in Frederick County.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
So everybody, on this podcast, we always talk to business owners, and they always have these dreams of, I want to start my own business because, this is, this, that, and the third. So you kind of, in walking into it, and then kind of walking into was it a running business at the time?
No.
You guys had to develop it?
Yeah, we developed the whole thing. What happened is that we have a partner that wanted to invest in it, and he already had the vineyard here. So, but it didn't have the actual business of the winery. So that, we got that up and running 2010. And it's definitely been everything starting from scratch. Wow. So that's, I don't know where you wanted to go with the next.
No. Well, it's more so because the thing about it is, especially like in Annapolis and in the Annapolis area, is not known for a large amount of wineries.
Right.
So I know that there was maybe kind of some things where you didn't know exactly what to do and exactly what it took to do this. Was that kind of?
Yeah, I think initially when we became part of the Maryland wine industry, we didn't really think a lot about Maryland wine, I guess, at the time. Right. We moved here from California, and there's a lot of good options out there. And I guess when we first got here, it seemed like from what we had tasted, a lot of it was sweeter wine. The wineries didn't seem like they were trying to make the wine that we were used to. So for us, we really went into it wanting to make a good product that we enjoyed drinking from local grapes. So that has had its own challenges, but it's definitely been kind of a fun experience just to see people's faces when they taste the wine and they go, "This is from Annapolis?"
So I automatically know that you guys are the favorite and the popular friend couple, because it's like, oh no, we're gonna go to the O'Shea's house because we're out here this Friday, this Saturday, this Sunday, and then we're here the next weekend as well. So It's awesome out here. It's great.
Yeah, we love it.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So speaking of the setting as a segue, I know one of the larger challenges you guys had, because it was in the news quite a bit a couple of years ago, was the tornado hitting pretty much directly on the winery property. So along with that challenge, if you could, offer a few other challenges you faced and how you guys have overcome them, and then finally some pieces or snippets of advice you might have for other business owners out there, everything from dealing with that to, what goes into picking and choosing what next varietal you want to explore and eventually bottle and offer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as far as challenges for us, the tornado, we were hit September of 2020. Yeah. And that was following, COVID starting. Right. So we had been closed down, March, April, May, and we had in June, and we opened up like July 4th, I believe it was. Oh, wow. So we were open for July and August, and then we got hit by the tornado. Yeah. So then we had to shut back down, and we were basically at the mercy of builders and the county, right. to be able to get it back up and running. Right. So that didn't. We weren't, what happened is when the tornado hit is this building was completely destroyed. Oh, wow. So we had to rebuild it, and nothing could be, you couldn't be open, public couldn't be 100 feet from the building, which kind of is, all the other buildings are affected by it. Right. So thankfully our production buildings were far enough away, but our restrooms and the other barn, wow. couldn't. So that shut us down. We then reopened, I think it was May of 2021. Okay. Now, for us, also in our life is that my husband and I had our first child in November of 2020, so 2 months after the tornado hit. Yep. So I'd say for us it was more, all three of those things were life-changing things to happen, and they all happened in 1 year. Wow. So we really reassessed how much we were going to put into mm-hmm. the business, mm-hmm. because we've for 10 years we've put every ounce of energy we have right. into the business, right. and we just burn ourselves out. Yeah. And then now we have another being to take care of, and so we're yep. That, and then you kind of start thinking about what really is important to me. What yeah. We want to still make wine, we want to still share it with people, but do we need? Is there things that we can, change how much time we're investing and still have the same outcome? Mm-hmm. So I think for business owners, that's the most valuable thing that you'll learn is when you get to a point after pouring all of your heart and soul into it, when you can look at it and say, I can actually change how I'm doing this mm-hmm. so that I'm not wearing myself out, my family's not worn out from it. And I think that that's really an important step to get to. Yeah. And to jump in, after spending some time on your guys' great website, I know you do a lot of e-commerce, which is obviously a great thing. And I think especially it's somewhat recent that some of the shipping of wine and alcohol products has opened right between different states and things. Yeah, it started to open right around the time we were ready to ship. So okay. It's been I don't know how many years it's been, but I'd say at least 5-6 years we've okay. been shipping. So I would think then you have definitely had some growth in the e-commerce side of things, which would definitely. Hopefully take a little bit less of the boots on the ground investment of and then too, especially building the club. Mm-hmm. So through the pandemic and everything, the club was a great asset for us because our members still got wine. Right. And a lot of them were local, which, wineries in other states like California, most of their members are out of state. Whereas we have the advantage of people wanting to support something local, and so we were able to deliver the wine ourselves and things like that, where we just had so many great club members that were supporting us. That's great to hear. We're obviously enormous fans of supporting any and all county businesses. So. 100%. That's awesome.
So I will say this one thing. I'm a person who. Okay, so the first time I drank wine was at a wedding, And I remember the first time. But
he was 27 years old.
Yes, 37. So, and I remember, you know, they always say like wine and alcohol, you know, it's a very acquired taste. And so I remember drinking and I was like, oh my God, this is so bitter. This is so, and so I remember the guy that was serving it, he was explaining, you know, the process and the grapes and the this and the that. I was like, I had no idea there was so much more to wine than, you know, I've always seen the episodes of Lucy where she's like stomping the grapes.
Yes, I remember it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, with that being said, the grapes, and how do you choose the grapes? How do you choose what to grow, what time of year, you know, all these things?
Well, some of those decisions were easy for us because they were already made when we started. So with grapes, they're a vine that's planted, and whatever you plant is what grows. So every year, if you plant a Cabernet Sauvignon plant, every year, that's what you're going to get from that plant.
Gotcha.
So our business partner, he really loves French wine. So he had already planted it with French vinifera. So at this vineyard we have Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Syrah are the main varietals, and Sauvignon Blanc as well.
Yes.
So
I'll likely be leaving with a bottle of that, speaking of.
So that made that easier. We also are we really like blends.
Okay.
Because varietals, usually when people are set on like, I like this one kind of grape, in different areas, it's going to have different characteristics based on the soil.
The terroir.
Yeah. And,
I know that
you know,
term,
for us, knowing that we're not producing like these big, bold wines like you can grow in other places, we wanted to be able to make stuff that we still really liked. And so we like to do blending, because I usually tell people it's like when you have, I'm trying to think of how to word it, friends that have certain qualities that are good and bad. And if you have the right friends with the right qualities all mixed together, it's a great group, right?
Yep.
But if you have a group together that all has the bad qualities that they share, then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So that's
So
with
it's almost like you often hear with crops of selective breeding for different characteristics, but you're doing it at the
after,
by mixing after.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Like the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
It just has to have balance throughout. That's
And
awesome.
coffee's I was going to say coffee. So wine is kind of like coffee when you start off. It's like, you know, if you start off with a black coffee, you're probably not going to like it. So you usually start off with some cream and sugar, and you wean yourself off of it enough to consider yourself a serious coffee drinker.
Yeah, exactly. And I always, you know, mess with my wife. If we go out and stuff, like I'll take I don't know, you know, kind of do that thing, you know, where you
Sniff it.
like,
Swirl
you know, I
Swirl
have
it and
no
sniff it.
idea what I'm doing, by the way. Like I'm just sitting there, I'm like, yeah, this breathes really well. I have no idea what that means.
You just got to fit in. You act as if.
I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. But
That's the thing, is that wine has a way of has a snobby factor to it that people I think really associate with it, and they can be really intimidated by it.
Oh yeah.
But in reality, it's just another beverage.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't have to be like that. And some of the things that people are looking for when they're doing that don't even matter anyway. The swirling, usually when they talk about the legs, right?
So
legs.
So basically what you're saying
alcohol
is that I'm
content.
looking stupid.
No, I'm just saying,
No, I'm kidding, no.
the people that make it seem like a big deal, it's really not. All that's showing you is the alcohol content.
Got you.
And swirling it is opening it up for the smell, so you can get a smell of the different things in the wine.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's not that big of a deal.
Okay, we're gonna keep that between us.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna let my wife know
I
that.
have to then tack on a little follow-up to that, because I've been too embarrassed to ask it at most whenever I'm buying wine at a store. So the whole aging, how do you decide what goes into, you know, selling it after this many years, letting it age this many years? And am I right that it just gets better with age, essentially?
So the wines that age the best are the wines that have the most tannins.
Okay.
So tannins,
I've heard that word too.
is in red wine.
Yep.
You get it from the skins and the seeds. So a grape varietal that has a smaller grape is going to have more tannins to it.
Okay.
Whereas like a Syrah is like a bigger grape, so it's going to be more juicy. It's not going to have as much tannin to it.
Okay.
So a wine that has is more tannin, it's a bolder wine. Those are going to age better. Cool. For us, it's also a matter of how fast we sell wine.
Right, of course. Yep.
So the one benefit of the pandemic was it helped us to age some of our wines a little bit longer that we were having to release earlier than we wanted just because of supply and demand.
Right.
So traditionally now we're aging our reds for about 2 years before we put them out to the public. Okay. But whites are usually same year.
Okay.
Especially like Chardonnay we usually do after 1 year because we barrel age our Chardonnay. But most of the other whites and rosés are all produced in a tank, so they're not getting any kind of benefits from its atmosphere in the barrel.
Cool. Okay, that's very, very helpful.
Yeah. So the one thing before we get to our favorite segment,
you guys know it out there.
Before we get to the favorite segment, I wanted to know if you have one piece of advice you can tell business owners kind of coming up now, and they may see this and say, you know what, I want to start a vineyard. What piece of advice would you give them?
For someone that wants to start a vineyard?
Or just anybody, period, with business?
I would say be honest as far as asking people who are in the business, like what's involved in, like how much energy is involved in putting into it. We have a lot of people that will tell us that this is their dream retirement job. And I think, oh my goodness.
Well, before we came, I was thinking a lot of the big California new wineries you hear of, it's like former athletes, former actors, celebrities. It is a retirement end of your end 30-year life job or whatever, which probably makes it sometimes seem a little easier than it really is.
I think that it also kind of, as far as advice for people is, are you going into it because it's something that you're passionate about, or are you going into it because you want to make money? Because in general, wineries aren't like a huge money maker. They're a high cost to start it. They have a lot of upkeep, and so it has to be something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, you know what they say, when you're passionate about something, you'll never work a day in your life. So, I always try to go by that.
Not to put words in your mouth, but I just looking out for viewers, they'll see some pictures of this and know, but for listeners out there, the winery is absolutely beautiful. So I think it definitely goes to the point of location. As you said, you already had a winery here to take ownership of, and obviously expand it, or the vineyard, and expand it and grow it over time. But I think that point can't be hammered home enough of having an awesome location definitely being important for all businesses.
So now we're to the most intense part of this interview.
Teased it once, teasing it again. I
just want to let you guys know this is, very intense. So, children leave the room. There's a lot going on.
It's not
here.
even safe for work.
Okay, this is dangerous. This is very dangerous stuff, and we're professionals. Okay, so just understand that. What are your top 5 favorite places to eat, enjoy, and have fun in Anne Arundel County?
Okay, well, my husband and I talked about this. He said, most important, we have to start the day with good coffee.
Oh, okay.
So the best place in town for coffee is Ceremony.
Oh, okay.
So
we include Ceremony, I can say, as our marketing outreach manager, in almost every one of our donation baskets for auctions. So
it's so good that one time when we were in Portland, who is known for coffee, they had Ceremony coffee on the shelves of the best coffee shop in town.
Oh,
we might have to use that as in a future ad or something for the county.
Portland.
That's amazing. Wow.
That's awesome. So
then the other
right,
ones.
so
Okay, the other
Ceremony.
ones. Okay. And of course, coffee goes with a good pastry. For me,
Yep.
I'm the pastry person. Nate likes, eggs and meat. So Bakers & Co.
Yep.
Yeah, they have
they're a
hands
hot
down the
spot.
best pastries. Then after that, I mean, the rest of the day, can be whatever, but we have to get wine somewhere. And although, we have a lot of wine here, we don't just drink Great Frogs wine.
Yep.
So we usually like to go to Bin 201.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Which and again, for an auction, I was there buying some local wine, and they have a very impressive amount, not just you guys, but
And they're very friendly staff, and they're, they have enough people there that are trying to help you with, choosing what you need.
Yeah.
So then across the street, we like to get our dinner at Whole Foods. I know that's not like, I know that.
Which, going back to coffee, though, they have both Ceremony and Chesapeake Bay Roasting Company. So,
and then the other place that we like to go to is Rutabaga.
Yep.
For some,
Pretty great
some,
too.
some good fresh stuff.
Very cool.
Sounds
So-
like an awesome Saturday.
We have no shortage in Annapolis and throughout the county of great places for both coffee and pastries. You're right, thinking about that. So speaking of some of those things, for my question, my top 5, I often cheat and figure out a way to ask 2. So if you could say, from all of the wines you have, your top 5 vintages, bottles, whatever the correct term would be there.
Okay.
You don't have to give everybody the exact year now that I know a little bit more about the aging process.
Okay.
So your top 5 wines, and then your top 5 things to pair them with. Because as I also know from social media, a ton of restaurants are very big on doing wine pairing dinners. So I know that's a big attraction.
So my favorite Great Frogs wine is our Chardonnay. Our Chardonnay is grown all on site, and it just has, has some nice flavor profiles to it. I always think grilled pineapple is what it reminds me of.
Sweet. Summery.
But it's not like super oaky buttery, even though it is oaked. It just is, it's really nice and smooth. I am a sucker for rosé, and we make a dry rosé, so I like that.
I open my eyes and I see rosé all day shirts. So
yeah,
I know it's a popular.
It is our most popular, especially throughout the summer.
Yeah.
Then our Powhatinica is our red that's grown from all of our reds on the farm, and that's named after a summer camp that used to be back on the water here.
Neat.
It was a National Aquatic Training Center for lifeguards that was sponsored by the Red Cross. So that's kind of a fun, I like the ones that are the most special for us.
Yes.
And then we have another red called Cold Blooded.
Yep.
That is special for us because our business partner loves to ski in the winters, and my husband and I spent our childhood in Minnesota, so we wanted something that was kind of an ode to the cold.
Yep.
So it was fitting with a frog. So.
Yep.
And then I'd say the next one that we've been really enjoying lately is a new release that we have coming out in June, and that's our new All Hands on Deck. So that's it's kind of a really jammy red. It's a lot of fun.
Very nice.
And then the pairings. I didn't pair. Okay, so I cheese, of course, always pairs with wine. So that's our favorite thing to pair with wine. Yep. I always like to have a good Italian meal, like spaghetti or something that has a red sauce, just because if you have a dry wine, it's always nice to offset it with the acidity of the red sauce. Yep. So I like that. My husband loves steak, so ribeye.
Yep.
With a big red.
That's always with a red, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Grace and I both know that much at least.
Yeah. It's only
steak red.
I love Chilean sea bass, so that's good for the whites, especially the Chardonnay, because it has a good amount of butteriness to it. Yep. And then
I see that on the Luna Blue wine menu often is a fish with a wine like that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
And then last, I'd say any kind of spicy ethnic food is always good with the whites and rosés, because it's just offsets it. So whether it's tacos from Vida Taco Bar, or it's, like basmati Indian or something.
Yeah, cool.
So that made me think of one thing I forgot to ask. Hopefully we're not too short on time. But thinking of the naming and branding of things, where'd the Great Frogs name come from? I should have thought of that right at the beginning, but you reminded me of it.
Our business partner, Don Siegel, loves frogs.
Okay.
So it's just like, how everybody has a favorite animal, it's frogs.
Okay.
Yeah. He just gets a kick out of them. So that was like, we wanted to have something that was fun and easy to remember, and we didn't want to take ourselves too seriously, and we think Great Frogs works
It's a
pretty
great
well
logo.
for that.
It's very recognizable on all the bottles. So.
Yeah, so I did all the labels. So we wanted it to be smiling.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a happy little drunk frog.
Yeah. He's like, I'm on the bottle. I'm smiling. It's all good. It's all good. So now, before we wrap things up, I just wanted to remind you if you can talk to the event that you guys are having with the libraries.
Yeah, so they're having an event here on Friday, the 20th of May. It is open to the public, but it's a ticketed event, so the tickets are available online. You can get them on our website, or I've seen, we've even gotten emails from the library.
Yep.
But most of our ticketed events where they're in partnership with a nonprofit organization, it is some proceeds go to the nonprofit, and it also raises awareness. So with that event, I think the tickets include 2 drinks or a tasting, I can't remember, but it says on our website. So we have the events page on our website that you can go to.
And what's you guys' website?
It's greatfrogs.com. And then at Facebook and Instagram, it's Great Frogs Winery.
Yeah, and I guess, and you guys, I know you have lots of live music events on a regular basis too.
Yeah, we've been having live music on Saturdays.
Okay. So the best place again is just your website to
that's where
stay
we
up
keep
to
the
date on
most.
everything. Okay. Awesome. And speaking of websites and social media handles and all that good stuff, just to remind everyone out there that you can view this podcast, past podcasts, and future podcasts on both Facebook and YouTube. You can listen to them, quote unquote, wherever you get your pod, and you can actually watch them on Spotify now. As the uploader, that's a little nice benefit, is now Spotify allows you to play videos as well. And last but not least, please be sure to follow us on all of our other social media handles, on LinkedIn, Twitter, and again, Facebook, YouTube, and then also aaedc.org. And whether this comes out before or shortly after, May 25th, I should also break the news, is National Wine Day. So we will toast an imaginary glass and say thanks again for tuning in.